Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem HaRakah the Awards to all the apostles of great most that rule well. And Shalom to the brothers in wax, sharing truth. Saw this article on the Times. It's interesting because Tony Blair is one of them characters similar to like Bill Gates. You know, Tony Blair, he was prime minister from what, 97, like 2006, 7, maybe earlier, 2005. But he had a run for a little while. And, you know, after he left office, he's, you know, always in the news, doing speeches, doing talks, you know, basically trying to direct and kind of give insight on where, you know, things are pushing. Because it was like under him, I remember they tried pushing, what's the term? They were called national ID cards. National ID cards, where you basically have like centralized identification. So instead of like a passport, driving license, whatever, there'll be one particular one. You tried to push that through, but it didn't get through. That's something that now, you know, you're getting that come together with an app, and then he's one of those kind of well, he seems like one of those forward thinking types, like you know, Bill Gates. But obviously it's him having been in prime minister position, he's kind of positioned to push us, you know, a vibration out. And even though, you know, he was involved with the Iraq war, he's still very popular. Like over here, he was, as far as anyone that's left leaning supports Labour, they tend to have been or were fans of him. Especially Jake, man. But it says what? Tony Blair, Britain should have AI doctors and nurses. The former PM says humanity is entering its biggest transformation since the Industrial Revolution, and that it's absurd not to do more in the NHS. So yeah, he's talking about, you know, AI hitting like a new Industrial Revolution, and it's really looking to be that. As far as, you know, at present, you know, people are talking, oh, I need to regulate, need to this, need to that. It's already completely shifted how people kind of engage with the world. It's funny, like things like deep fakes. Years ago, uh, maybe like a decade, what would have been 2020, 50, maybe like 8 years ago or something like that. They were not very impressive, but now they're at a level where, if you know, a lot of people, if they're not looking too closely, they can easily get you know, get fooled. And the thing is as well is like when you have these like Grok or uh Mid Journey, I think it's called, when you have these different AI tools and they tend to generate the whole image. But then what you could even do, what would likely work better as well as technology improves, is like record it with one face and just deep fake it with someone else's face, body, whatever, over it. Because you have there was like a meme that came out where that was being done, and it looked, you know, it looked sloppy, but that's like just on a public level. When you have the private level stuff, and you have it developing as quickly as it has been over time, where it could have, you know, it could have been already developed that far, but then they're just kind of only letting the public deal with a certain level. Because as well, it's if you have unfettered capability, then you could be, you know, producing all kinds of deepfake shit to, you know, to basically test and try stuff out. There was the just with AI in general, you had the trial that was being done on Reddit, where there's an r/change my view, a subreddit where people basically argue, and then you're trying to convince someone else. If you convince them, then you get a resource on the subreddit. So you can, every time you convince someone, you get one of them. So they said it convinced people like 180 times over the course of a few years, like maybe a few years to months to years. Can't remember the time frame. And then they only revealed that they were, AI afterwards, and they were saying like, yeah, so AI's got this convincing capability, which it can. It's got immense, means behind it, all sorts of information. It can kind of utilize, and it's been developing to where it can be convincing in various ways. But then, as it's utilized more and more, people, it's the same thing with with like smartphones, with what's it called? Smartphones with what's the technology I was thinking of? Oh, like social media, with I don't know what's something that came out recently as well. I know there's all kinds of technologies that people utilize, and they'll kind of be using it and then not realize until 3, 5, 10 years, 15, 20, 30 years down the line that there's some kind of immense harm to it. And that's the thing with AI as well. It's one of those where it's kind of, once you let it out of the bag, it can't even, you ain't really gonna have a means of getting it back in. There's teachers coming out saying that there's an immense amount of like kids in school where before you would have to, like, I remember even writing essays in school, even when you had like some millennial generation. So when you would have had like Wikipedia online, where you could just kind of go and research and then just copy and paste. Even then, you'd have to copy paste it, you'd have to rewrite it, reword it, and then make sure, like, it would still take significant amount more work than how you can now just go to what's it called, ChatGPT or whatever, and then put in a prompt saying, hey, write me an essay, this many words about this topic and blah blah blah, make sure to reference XYZ, and it'll be able to piece that together relatively easily. And then you'll think like, yo, what the fuck's going on? Like, you wouldn't even realize the extent the level of impact that can have as well, when it's being introduced. But it's only like later down the line you realize like, yo, this shit's crazy. This shit's fucking insane. It's just nuts, which it really is. What was it say? But then that's why I said yes. It's on the level of the Industrial Revolution, which it is, and people are gonna utilize it and uptake it, take up the use of it. And the funny thing is you are gonna have like immense amount of people, lose their jobs, etc. If it was proliferated at the level that people that are developing it want to, it might do anyway. But that kind of shows what purpose it serves. It's something that serves those that bear power, that have the rule, that have the capability to utilize the fullness of it. People on the bottom might just be like, oh, let me ask this, let me use this, but then you can use it. It's like with algorithms, you can utilize those things to dictate people's thought patterns, people's behaviors, what people worry about. It's like with the news, man, how those things can feed back and influence how people think, conduct themselves, etc. Because, as I say, the former Prime Minister said that fears over artificial intelligence should be outweighed by the absolutely transformative impact it could have on public services by saving time and cutting costs. And yeah, I think you had Estonia fully digitize their civil services, and it basically super accelerated their ability to do everything. And that's what people will look to. And then you think and that's something I wouldn't be surprised the UK to take up handily. especially underneath Labour. Um, and it could easily be something that people look to, and it definitely is part of that groundwork being laid for the beast system, where you have all the information in one part. Because I read a bit more and I'll skip down because so when I stand back and look, okay, let me skip one. So it says government's all about process, so you could use AI to speed up the process of the government, making sure that we do, for example, all the routine jobs of government much more efficiently. You could be responding to people in much more sensitive, faster, better, more efficient way. If, for example, you're able to merge data sets across departments, you're going to save money, and that's something that Universal Credit did as well, where they had like a bunch of separate, like different forms of benefits. Then they rolled them all together, and I think they did that as well. Tories did Universal Credit, then Labour came in and rolled in disabilities as well with the same thing, so they can cut down on how much they're even giving out. Says you're going to analyze based on health data in a way that allows you to make better health policy, and then when you look in public services, you should be able to personalize education in future. You could have AI tutors, we could have AI nurses, AI doctors. So yeah, he's basically fully pushing for it, and it's something that will be taken up, because that's part of Esau's attempt really at the Holy Spirit. He's trying to have something where you can kind of have that, everything connected, all power in it, and then everyone linked into it, so you can utilize it. Because there was where was it? Yes. So it says there could be great rewards from offering up public data to the tech companies, Carl said, which that alone sounds fucking wild to offer. And he's technology secretary in the UK. So he's saying what did he say above that? Well, yeah, to risk the UK becoming obsolete. So he said there could be great rewards from offering up public data to the tech companies, Carl said, and that's similar to what Doge was doing it in the States as well, where they're basically having different government departments, be obsoleted and then have it all centralized, and then utilizing, Elon as the spearhead of bringing all that data together. Because of what this government, this country, our state has the most extraordinary, powerful, and rich data set, more than any other country in the world. Yeah, so they're talking about the data. So all the means, and they're talking about, so they said health data because it's always the NHS, especially in the UK. The NHS is a focus to kind of have the appeal to the people, because generally, no matter what side of the political spectrum or whatever, everyone utilizes and sees the benefit of the NHS. So they'll be like, okay, well, it'll offer greater benefits for the NHS, then maybe we'll do it. You'll have, your government data, your tax data, your schooling data, your education, your work, your whatever, as well as your health data, all of it being processed through AI, compartmentalized algorithms going through it to, build profiles on people. And that's really what, how this thing's going to be utilized. It's going to be used as a form of control, a form of managing the people. And that's why it's, handing out the data sets, that rich data set, to other companies out there. That's so I'm like, okay, see what's going down. Because what does it say? Use it now. If we use the data wisely and safely, then we can have the kinds of leaps and bounds forward for the scientific development, for the commercialization of new techniques, new services, new medicines, and the understanding of humankind and social sciences that no other country in the world can do. So, AI essentially being utilized, centralize all that data, and then process it into what means of, managing and dealing with the people. That just leans into the beast system, man. Because, you have all that data, then you just tie it to an implantable microchip. Shock horror, what you have? What it's saying, of course, AI absolutely perfect match to just kind of work with data. So yeah, it's all about going to, dealing with data, dealing with big data, and then having it linked up with the government information to tie it to the people. And just looking like the beast system, man. Proverbs 6:12, it says, a naughty person, a wicked man, walketh with a froward mouth. He winketh with his eyes, and he speaketh with his feet. He teacheth with his fingers. Frowardness is in his heart. He deviseth mischief continually. He soweth discord. Yeah. So when these men are saying things, the words coming out of the mouth are secondary. What you have to kind of look on is really what they're hinting at. And a lot of these things, they present them as, oh, this is going to be some great benefit. This is going to be, super appealing. Everyone's going to love and invest in, and being inspired by this is going to make everyone's life better. It's going to make taxes cheaper. It's going to make government smaller. It's but what's the real thing? Is linking up all that data, getting it processed by AI, and put into a usable form. That's a lot of what you have AI doing, like finance, in different sectors of business, even in computer programming, these different things. Utilizing AI to process big forms of data into useful little bites you can kind of use to make decisions as you go through the world. That's a big part of how it's being used on that big corporate level. And what do you think government's going to do with it? What do you think the military's going to do with it? What do you think counterintelligence or whatnot is going to do? They're talking about what they called domestic T errors. What do you think that's going to go? They're going to be processing. Let's go through all their different online accounts. Let's deal with what they post online, deal with where they work, who they talk to, different places they interact, any health issues they have, any whatever, and then profile the likelihood of them to do X, Y, Z. Mommy's trying to pre-crime the thing, which these are things that Esau desires. These things that these elite want to do. Because what does it say? Ezekiel 28:3 says, behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. With thy wisdom and with thine understanding, thou hast gotten thee riches, and hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. By thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches, and thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches. Yeah, so that wisdom, that understanding, that's been, granted to Esau, and given a means, to pass these different elements, different capabilities of harnessing things, in the world, technology, various things, the nuclear weapons, airplanes, submarines and whatnot, various forms of technology and ways, miracles really. And that's, it's let him excel. But then, in that excelling, is he then, as he desires to be a God on earth? Of course not. Of course not. Because it was therefore, thus saith the Most High Power, because thou hast set thine heart as a heart of God. Behold, therefore, I will bring strangers upon thee, the terrible of the nations, and they shall draw their swords against the beauty of thy wisdom, and they shall defy thy brightness. Yeah. So even with all that wisdom, even with all those capabilities, you're still gonna have, enemies brought against you, man. It's not gonna go how, the elite desire, but they're gonna accomplish a certain amount, and that marks a key part, man. The Motb. Revelation 12:12, it says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devils come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And yeah, that's, kind of nips it in the bud. He's going to intensify, because as far, they're presenting it as if this AI is going to be used in a great way, to draw and appeal to the masses. But the truth of the matter is going to be what? It's going to be used as an overbearing tool for the elite to enact and control as they desire. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom.